Hi, I, 25 female, am all set to get married next year. My fiancé, Keith, 26 male, had actually proposed to me when we were in college, but we had decided to have a long engagement before actually getting married. I know that some people will think this is stupid, but this is what we both wanted. We wanted to be settled in our life and career before tying the knot for good. We actually lived apart for 2 years while Keith finished off his master's in another country. Since we both knew that it would be impossible to be together for those 2 years, we decided to have a long engagement instead of getting married and living separately. After he came home, we aggressively worked to advance our careers so that we wouldn't have to worry about the future when we are finally ready to be married. This year, Keith and I both had a discussion and decided that getting married was long overdue, and this is the right time for it. The problem came when I asked my parents, both 55, about the trust fund that my grandparents had set up for me. For some background, my grandparents had set up a wedding fund so that I would never have to worry about wedding expenses. Now that I had set a wedding date, I needed access to the funds so that I could withdraw the money. When I brought it up with my parents, they gave me a weird look and told me that we should talk about it. What I found out absolutely broke my heart. Apparently, they had already withdrawn all of the money for various expenses over the years. They said that they needed money to renovate their house and to send my sister Gina, 30 female, to college. They couldn't afford that, so dipping into my trust fund was the only option for them. They had been withdrawing from the fund for years, and now there is almost nothing left. They even showed me some withdrawal receipts that proved that they weren't lying. They had drained my fund almost completely. I sort of blew up at my parents and started to cry when I heard all this. But instead of being apologetic, my parents got offended and called me immature. We had a huge fight, and my parents just didn't want to accept that they did wrong. My parents just kept telling me that it was immature of me to expect to spend $100,000 on a wedding, so they did what they thought would be better use of the money. They argued that education and renovating their house was more important, and I was being selfish for crying over a stupid wedding when these things were more important. The thing is that I would have allowed them to use parts of the trust fund for their own use if they had just asked. Not only did they hide it all from me, but also used up every single penny that was in the fund. Yes, I know a wedding worth $100,000 is just plain ridiculous, so I may not have spent it all there, but I would have used the rest of the money for a down payment on a house or something. Now, I don't even have the money for a basic wedding. This is just plain ridiculous. To top it off, the money wasn't even theirs. They never contributed a cent towards that trust fund. It was all my grandparents' doing. They did it for me because they wanted me to have a grand wedding like they did. Anyway, I cried for 2 days, after which I knew that there was nothing I could do. So I just started to make arrangements all by myself and informed my fiancé what was going on. We couldn't just postpone the wedding, so we decided to do whatever was in our budget. Then my grandparents called me and asked about my plans. I couldn't and didn't lie to them. I gave them the whole truth because they would have found out anyway. I told them how my parents had drained the trust fund and told me that there is no money on it anymore. I admit that I cried a little when I narrated the incident. Again, it's not about the money, it's about how my parents robbed me and prioritized my sister over me. They didn't show any remorse and didn't even apologize for their mistake. They are still maintaining that they did the right thing. Hell, they actually got mad at me for getting mad at them. All of this has really hurt me. My grandparents, of course, got extremely enraged. They told me that they will look into this matter and I shouldn't make any bookings or spend my own money on wedding stuff until they say so. I sort of knew that they would confront my parents and tell them off for their actions. That would have been expected. My parents should have seen this coming as well, but they are now yelling at me because my grandparents absolutely tore into them for what they did. Dad told me that my grandparents are now threatening to sue them for the money and it would possibly land them in jail. I'm not sure how much of this is an exaggeration, but my parents are pretty mad at me now. They're saying that I should have kept my mouth shut and not told them what happened. I don't know why they thought they wouldn't get discovered. Even if I hadn't told them, my grandparents would have known that I didn't spend too much money on the wedding. They would have asked and most probably looked into the trust fund to see how much was used and what was left. They would have also asked for an explanation of what I did with the money, since I wouldn't have anything to show them where I spent it. I wasn't going to lie and cover for my parents' butts then. I ripped the band-aid off as soon as possible because I knew this conversation was inevitable. Also, I wanted to start my wedding preparations without all these problems plaguing me. I knew that my grandparents would yell at my parents, but I thought that's all they would do. Now it has turned into a bigger issue than before, and my parents are calling me every name under the sun. I even got a lot of messages from my sister calling me selfish and greedy. I think she's being a plain hypocrite, but her words are still making me feel bad. My parents are demanding that I speak to my grandparents and tell them that I didn't mind my parents using my money. I really don't feel like doing it. I have come to terms with the fact that I won't see a cent of the 100,000 that was left for me. But that doesn't mean I'm not hurt and angry over what happened. I don't even know if my words will make a difference because technically, my parents stole from my grandparents and not from me. I basically had no control over the trust fund at all. This is my grandparents' money, so it's their decision. My parents don't see it that way, though. Since I am the villain in their eyes, they expect me to clean this mess of theirs. There is just so much drama going on now that I can't even be happy about my own wedding. It's overshadowing my wedding, and I have sort of lost interest in getting married at all. I know it's unfair to my fiancé, but this experience is just making me dread the wedding now. The pressure from my parents and sister is also too much. Should I just try and convince my grandparents not to do anything? I don't know if they will listen, but I can try, I guess. I am so confused and mentally drained right now that I don't think I'm capable of making the right decisions. Please tell me what you think. AITA? Edit. I think people have some misconceptions about this wedding fund, so I made this edit to clear them out. I don't like the way you guys are attacking my grandparents when they have done something extremely generous for us. Contrary to what people think, my grandparents left a wedding fund for my sister as well. Hers has already been used up since she got married before me. I'm not completely sure how much she spent on her wedding and how much she saved, but my parents told me it's all gone. I am not very surprised. Her wedding may have been well over 70,000 from what I've seen. She sure took full advantage of her trust fund. Not sure if anything was left. And even if it was, I don't know what she did with it. You guys really wanted to know why my grandparents left us so much money for a wedding. Both my grandma and grandpa are very romantic people and love attending weddings. We have a fairly large family spread over different parts of the world. Weddings and funerals are the only events that bring everyone in one place. Flying out family members is extremely expensive. Paying for their accommodation for 4 to 5 days is also another expensive affair. The fund was supposed to cover all these expenses. In our family, we don't just let people drop out of events if they don't have money. If money is the problem, someone pays for them so that they can attend and have a good time. I think it's a really beautiful thing because if someone really wants to attend, they wouldn't have to break the bank to come. My grandparents may be rich, but not everyone in the family has managed to accumulate this much wealth. That's why my grandparents wanted me to make arrangements for the people who couldn't afford to come. Also, there is no stipulation that the money cannot be used for anything other than the wedding. My grandparents have been paired for 50% of our college already. They just wanted us to have a wedding first and then spend whatever is left on whatever we wanted. They didn't make us swear to spend all the 100,000 on a wedding. I really hope this clears out whatever misconception you guys have. I also hope that you guys will stop attacking my grandparents and shaming them for leaving us generous gifts. Update 1. Hi guys, it's been a whole day already, but the comments on this post have not stopped yet. I can't believe so many of you took the time to leave so many supportive comments towards me. I did make an edit, but I couldn't answer all of your questions or address your assumptions in my post since there had been too many comments. I couldn't reply to all of you. I have seen that most of you think that I am NTA, and frankly, it has lifted the weight off my chest. I did have to make some really tough decisions, and I will tell you all about it today. But before that, I'm just going to address a few things. My grandparents mostly told my parents about how the trust fund would work because they thought my sister and I were too young to understand it. My parents did have the option of withdrawing funds from the account in case of emergencies where we needed the money immediately. The trust fund was managed by an organization because my grandparents didn't want to deal with that headache. They are old and don't really have much patience or even knowledge about these things, so an outside organization was in charge of the funds. My parents were allowed to withdraw funds from the accounts in certain situations stipulated in the terms. They also had to show proof that they actually had an emergency. As far as I think, that's how they got access to my account. I'm not sure though. I haven't really thought about the account till I had set a date for my wedding. I am not someone who needs the money. That's why I never cried over the money I didn't get. I was hurt over the favoritism and the robbery. You guys have guessed that my sister is the golden child. Well, in many ways she has been the golden child. She had been an excellent student when she was young, so Mom and Dad doted on her a lot. They had big dreams for her, but unfortunately none of them really came true. Gina started to act out and fell into the wrong crowd when she was a teenager. There have been lots of incidents in her teenage life, which is why my parents had to channel their time and energy on her. Over time, they started to spend less and less time on me and sort of forgot about me altogether. I didn't have many prospects when I was young because I wasn't a good student like my sister. By the way, some of you guessed it right, I do live in the USA. But my roots are in another country. I'm not going to give the name of the country though. I don't want to be hit by stereotypes and stuff. Anyway, Gina somehow graduated from school and got into a college with my parents' and grandparents' help. Remember how I said that my grandparents went 50-50 with my parents for college? They did it for Gina. But Gina started doing drugs again and got kicked out of school. And later, she found a man to marry and did just that. It was when she was 23 that she suddenly decided to go back to college. My grandparents told her straight up that they didn't trust her anymore and that she had already thrown away the chance they had given her. So it was my parents who had to fund her college. Well, my grandparents did fund it in the end since it came out of their money. Before anyone criticizes them again, my grandparents were right in refusing to pay for Gina's college. She dropped out after the second year because it was too hard and she would rather be a housewife. I also know that my parents didn't need to renovate the house. My mom suddenly got interested in the beige trend and had the whole house repainted besides changing all the furniture as well. Oh, I'm also pretty sure that my parents helped Gina with the down payment on her house. If they had to dip into my trust fund for a house renovation, they don't have that much money lying around. It's difficult to make them confess to anything else right now. They haven't stopped messaging me yet, and I know things will only get worse since I don't plan to do what they want. They can keep yapping for all I care. I will have a little chat with my grandparents though. I want to know what they're thinking. I don't want them to feel too guilty about this. They're old and have some major health issues. I'm worried that this mess will just be too mentally taxing for them. I don't want them to do anything for me. Keith and I would just use the funds that we already have. It won't be a grand wedding, but it will be enough. Thank you so much for leaving your valuable feedback here. I'm not sure if I will have anything to update after this, but if I do, I will come back here. Update 2. I promised to be back here if I had an update, so here I am. Keith and I have decided to put the wedding plans on hold for now. We haven't sent out the save the date yet, so this isn't going to be a big problem. I have talked to Keith and come to the realization that all this drama is making me too uncomfortable to go into the wedding planning. It's like the experience has tainted all the joy I had for this wedding. I don't want to arrange a wedding with half a heart, so we decided to wait a little. Keith is my biggest supporter and cheerleader, so he understands why I can't put my heart and mind into the wedding planning now. This man is truly God sent for me. He has been my rock through this whole mess, which just keeps getting worse. After my last update, Keith and I went to talk to my grandparents to assure them that they didn't have to fight for me. We had a long talk, after which it became clear that no matter what I said, my grandparents wouldn't back down. They also revealed that they had done some digging into how my parents were able to get the funds cashed out. Well, it looks like they broke a few laws to do that. Turns out my parents also forged my signature on money withdrawal requests. Things are very complicated, and I don't know all the details of what happened. I'm an art major and I work at a studio, but my fiancé understood what was going on. My parents weren't exaggerating when they said that they may go to jail, since it's a large sum of money, and they used illegal methods to withdraw it. My parents may just face jail time for their actions. Things are really complicated right now, and I am sort of in a dilemma. My grandparents need me to report my parents for forging my signature. My parents, of course, don't want me to do anything. They surprisingly changed their tune a little when I told them that I knew about the forged signatures and was planning to report them. Suddenly, they have now started to beg and plead with me not to do it. They have been telling me how we are family and they are my parents, so I shouldn't do anything to hurt their reputation. They have been trying to guilt trip me, but it's not working very well. I am seriously done with them and would rather just file a police report to get them arrested. Over the last few days, I have come to realize that my parents had neglected me a lot for the sake of my sister. Gina is an extremely entitled woman and is still somewhat dependent on our parents. Yes, they still send her money when she wants. Gina had proudly told me all about it a few months ago. I've always felt like an outsider in the family, but I really didn't think they would go this far to screw me over. I have been feeling really down, and I kind of hate my parents for ruining my wedding from the very beginning. There is absolutely no way I'm inviting them to my wedding. My guest list is supposed to be filled with people who love me, and they are not it. It also goes without saying that Gina is not invited to the wedding either. I don't even want to have a wedding anymore, and I hate them for it. Frankly, I still haven't decided what to do with the police report now. My grandparents want me to press charges, and my fiancé's okay with whatever I do, but I do know that he wants me to press charges as well. Keith's logic is that we need to leave a paper trail to make sure they don't attempt anything like this again. He's also very pissed at them for ruining our wedding and doesn't want to show them mercy. But, like a good partner, he's letting me take the lead, especially since I am the main victim here. I'm still very unsure about what to do, but I think I will make a decision soon. I just need some time to come to terms with my decision. That's it. Many of you told me that I was underreacting and should be madder at my parents. Well, I am there now. And I am also considering pressing charges, so I guess you guys got your wish. Jokes aside, I do have to thank you for your guidance, believe me. When I said that I considered all your advice, I will also get in touch with a therapist as soon as possible because I know I will need it. Thank you for suggesting that too. Update 3. Okay, it's been only 24 hours since the last post, but you guys have thoroughly convinced me about what to do. You are right. I shouldn't let my parents get away with what they've done. They don't have the right to steal from me and then make a mockery out of my feelings. For years, I have allowed them to treat me as the sacrificial lamb, but not anymore. I didn't mention in my post and updates that my parents didn't even pay for my college. Yes, you read that right. My sister got back into college a second time, just when I was about to get into college. They had to choose between me and my sister. They chose my sister and told me to take out loans. Their argument had been that my grandparents are already paying for half, while my sister would have to pay for it all by herself. So they wanted to spend their money on her instead of me. So yes, I did have loans, and that is partly why I didn't get married sooner. Anyway, now that I think about it, my sister wasn't interested in college until I got into a good one and people started to praise me. My sister wasn't interested in college until I got into a good one and people started to praise me. I had good grades in high school, while she was kicked out due to drug use and possession. No good college would take her in. Only one offered her admission, but my parents had to pay a lot of money to get her in. We already knew where all that money came from. I haven't mentioned everything about how I always came second to my sister. Sometimes it was like I didn't even exist. I didn't think so deeply about the situation because I had grown a thick skin, but I understand that my silence only gave them license to do whatever they wanted, no matter how horrible it was. They don't deserve to have a good life while taking away everything from me and treating me like a disposable human being. I am done with them. Tomorrow I will press charges against my parents and then I will go no contact with them for good. I'm not going to forgive them again. Update 4. I'm so sorry for being gone so long, guys. I know I kept you hanging and I have no problem admitting that it was wrong. So many of you were wondering about what was going on, and I have received so many DMs asking me if things are okay. Well, this update only has good news, so I think you will be happy to read it. Again, I apologize for the delay. Some things made this update come late. You will find out about it once you read this. So, I did press charges against my parents and well, it didn't go well for them. I had already sent them a long text shaming them for their favoritism and telling them that I don't want them to ever contact me again. I also had them blocked everywhere. I blocked my sister as well, but she didn't receive a long letter. I had nothing to say to her. After pressing charges, there was a major investigation against my parents. My grandparents did their part, and everything combined just landed my parents in hot water. They got arrested and have been to court. Forging signatures is, of course, a felony, and with the amount of money involved, they will face prison time. Things haven't been settled yet, but they will be soon because my parents are going to plead guilty. There's just too much evidence and they don't have enough money for lawyers right now. They will also have to sell their house to pay off the fine, legal expenses, and the $100,000 they stole. My grandparents have already given me $100,000 from their own funds so that I don't have to wait for everything to be finalized. They have also said that they are going to disown my father and remove my sister from the inheritance. My sister threw a fit when she was informed of that. She also tried to show up to my house and cause some damage by taking a bat to my window. Of course, she got arrested and had to post bail. Her husband is furious and has been wanting a divorce because of all this nonsense. He's also sent me a message sympathizing with what happened. They also offered me the amount that my parents gave him as a down payment for his home. I refused it but told him, we're good. I know that he has no part in this mess. You'll be surprised to know that he is actually a decent man. Don't know what he ever saw in my crazy sister. I would be happy for him if he leaves her. Not sure what he'll do though. I have told him that we can be in touch if he decides to leave my sister. A decision hasn't been made, but tensions are high. Maybe that's why my sister has quieted down all of a sudden. My parents did try to harass me once they posted bail. They've been begging me to take the case back, but they know it's too late for that. Besides, I already told them that I would call the cops on them and press charges for harassment if they continue to bother me. To be very honest, I don't want anything to do with them ever again. I have joined therapy, as I had said, and she helped me realize that my parents are toxic and manipulative. I'm still trying to deal with my issues and address all the bad character traits I picked up from being neglected for so long. But I will say that I am making progress. As for the wedding, well, it happened, but not in the way we had planned. One fine morning, my now husband, who had been pretty annoyed about not getting to be my husband sooner, told me that we should just elope and call it a day. The poor guy had been tired of waiting, and frankly, so was I. So we got my grandparents' permission and just did it. It was just me and Keith, and it felt right. Our family and friends were disappointed, but they quickly recovered when we told them that we would have a big ceremony later. I just want all these court problems to end before I can even think about this. I want to plan a wedding with a fresh mind and leave behind this drama in the past. So Keith and I will have a formal wedding, possibly next year, but we don't have to wait anymore to call each other husband and wife. Since I already have the money, I will be planning a big wedding so that everyone can have a good time. Grandma and Grandpa's health is not very good right now, so this is most probably the last wedding they will attend. I'm going to do my best to make sure they love it. My parents and sister won't be invited, of course. So this is the update and will be the last one here. Thanks for all the good wishes and kind words. I'm going to remember them. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.